Hi, Year 12 Advanced. It's Mr. Prowse here. I'm here to talk about the Assessment Task 1, the investigation task that you will be doing for the next 2 weeks. So first up, here is the notification task. It's all going to be on sequence and series. You'll be having a validation task that you'll be sitting in 2 weeks' time that is on this sequence and series, sort of validating the sort of techniques and strategies that you've used in this assignment. So the assessment instructions, the main things I need you guys to remember is that each question is to be completed on a separate sheet of paper. We don't want questions from different sections being on the same piece of paper. Make sure everything is nice and separate. Don't be worried about how many pieces of paper you're using. And you also need to ensure your name is on every page. Okay, so make sure your solutions are neat and legible. Make sure you're referring to the marking rubric for each of these questions to make sure that you're covering all the necessary things to make sure you're getting as many marks as possible. Important to remember that there will be 2 maths lessons designated for you to work on this in class, and during these periods you'll be allowed to ask your teacher. You'll be able to have your teacher to help you out with some questions that are valid. You've got 5 minutes to do that pretty much with your teacher. Okay, so tasks. There's 4 tasks here, and they're to be submitted in a single PDF document. Last investigation task, we got a lot of JPEGs. We want it in PDF form, and we want it as a single document. So if you're having trouble with that, make sure you're talking to IT services. I'm sure we'll be able to help you out as well. We need to make sure it's in by 8:40 a.m. You need to make sure you email it to your maths teacher. And we will reply and make sure to let you know that we've received that task. The validation task will be sat on that day that you handed in. So period 1 for year 10 and period 2 for year 12. Okay, so there's 4 tasks to this assignment. The first one is bowling troubles. You've got a certain number of tasks that you need to do. You need to read these questions carefully. Make sure you answer these. Make sure they're all on your own piece of paper. Make sure they're clearly labelled. I want to see exactly your answers for each of these parts. And I also want to see an answer for B down here. So you can see at the end of each question the number of marks allocated. Now for question B, which is worth 7 marks, there's a detailed rubric outlining exactly what you need to do to get 4 marks and what you need and what you'll get if you don't meet these certain criteria. Okay, moving on. Task 2, NESA sequences and series. You need to be using your NESA number for this task, so make sure you've got that on hand. You're going to be using that to create sequences and series as indicated by these questions. Make sure you read them carefully. Make sure that you're answering exactly what the question is asking you. 3 marks per question. And for each question, we've got the marking rubric. This applies to each of these questions from A to G. Task 3, population prediction. This is where you actually have to do some research. You have to pick a town or city and research the number in the populations here. Make sure you're including references for this. You will be given marks for your references. We will be checking them and making sure that your research is valid. We're not just making up numbers here. And simply completing these steps, make sure that you're reading the questions carefully. Make sure that you're answering the questions. With part B, this is worth 3 marks. The marking rubric details what exactly you need for part 3. Make sure you pick the correct option here based on whether your city was increasing or decreasing per year. Okay, task 4, what the heck? So for each question and worked response, you need to explain in detail all mistakes that have been made and how these mistakes can be corrected. So then you need to complete your own response to this question, showing full working, showing perfect working for this. So when you're finding all the mistakes, you need to be looking at all these lines and making sure that you're picking up on any mistakes that are made, not just the first mistake, any mistakes in this whole process. And you need to be really explaining exactly what went wrong, what went wrong, what was the student thinking that wrote this sort of working, and what he should have done instead, how he could have corrected it. And make sure that your own response is detailed, showing all relevant working. Each of these questions, question 1, 2 and 3, all has some sort of mistake in them, multiple mistakes. You need to be able to find these. The marking rubric, they're 5 marks each for each question, indicates exactly what you need to do to get full marks for these questions. Good luck with your assignment, guys. Bye.